When I do my little segments, I write up notes to kind of help me remember what it is that I was wanting to say in the segment that I'm doing. Today I wrote up a segment where I started it with my son is a great fan of a particular holiday movie, but I should say before I say that even, that my son is a great fan of holidays, and he has two in particular that he really, really likes. They happen to be Halloween and Christmas. So when there was a movie that was put out that basically combined these two together in an odd sort of a hodgepodge, he was really, really happy about that movie coming into existence. And when it was shown to him, he acted accordingly and sat down and watched it through and has enjoyed watching it multiple times since. The premise of the movie in question is the explanation of the origins of various holidays, particularly of Christmas and Halloween. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, and I'm certainly not going to divulge what movie we're talking about. But it's about supposedly the origin of various days that folks tend to celebrate as holidays, right? Well, the thing about it is, there's a problem, and the problem is that the movie fails to live up to its premise. It never actually does what it says it's going to do. In my view, that's the least of our problems these days. Hello, this is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Thursday, the 21st of January of 2021. Welcome aboard to those who are coming on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. The subject of today's video and podcast will be origins. So the thing about the movie that I was talking about is that it says, basically the opening segment of the movie that's intended to be poetic and wise all at the same time says that it's going to discuss the origin of holidays in general, and particularly it doesn't directly intimate this. It says it's going to discuss it talks about discussing the idea of where Christmas and Halloween came from. The problem is that it doesn't do either. It totally fails to do what its opening narrative claims it will. It just does. Now here's the thing. I said before that I think that this is sort of the least of our problems. And I said that because this idea of saying we're going to do something and then failing to do it is a problem that we have in a lot of things that we talk about these days. And I'm going to talk particularly about science today. And we're going to start by talking about the origins of life. There's this problem. And it is that there are all of these lovely little models that are being used to describe and explain where life came from. But the thing about it is, we're unable to replicate exactly what circumstances life came into existence on the planet. Whether you look at it from a scientific or a religious perspective, we can't replicate that. And so the problem is, because we never saw what actually happened, we're trying to archaeologically, I guess more, determine the beginnings of life. And the thing is, most of those things that are out there are pretty much flights of fancy or pure conjecture, quite frankly. The idea that we really understand the origins of life, that's not really entirely true. And the thing is, we've got lots of people saying this is how it all started, but the reality is they don't know, and they're trying to tell you that they do when in fact that's not the case. Now I wanted to go from there to the idea of the origins of the universe, one of the favorite subjects of cosmologists and astrophysicists and the like. And I wanted to say this. There is this tendency to talk about the origin of the universe. And you could say the origin of the current universe could be explained this way if it works, in terms of the Big Bang. There's only one problem with this idea, right? And the problem is what I call the 5-year-old's problem. Oh yeah, where did that come from? Okay, so let me back up a little bit and we're going to explain what I mean. Here's the thing that we need to sort of consider. When people talk about the Big Bang, what they say is something like this. They say there was this matter that was compressed into this extremely small size of the head of a pin or smaller space for an entire universe, and it came all together, and then it went kablooey and exploded into what is now the current modern day universe, which began to form in various ways. Now, at certain points, we acknowledge that we can't even make physics work with this model, which is okay. Maybe that's how that is. Maybe there's another sort of super physics that lives over the top of that. But the point I'm making is that we literally say that our model can't explain it. But here's the 5-year-old's question. The 5-year-old's question is, oh yeah, where did the matter that compressed into the tiny pinhead or became energy or whatever it was and exploded out, where did that come from? Where did that come from? And this is something that you can go on and on and on about. Christianity, Judaism basically state that there's this eternal God. He's always been there, he always will, and he created the universe and everything that's in it. What he used to do that, I don't know. Whether the stuff that he used to do it was eternal, I don't know. I picture God as extemporal, outside time, and extra universal, outside the universe, right? I don't consider him to be a part of that. I consider it sort of to be a part of him. And so the problem that I see as an ongoing one is that there is a tendency to forget to ask the question, are we really at the beginning? We hear kids all the time asking the question. My son has started doing this sort of as an emulation because he's autistic, moderately autistic, so it really doesn't mean much to him, of doing the are we there yet when he knows we're not there when we're going home or whatever, right? But so 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, whatever they happen to be, have this way of looking at the universe that's maybe a little simpler, but in certain ways requires a great deal more work to explain than some of the stuff that's currently being done by the scientific community. And oh, by the way, that's not the only place that that's happening. If you look back at, for example, the origins of things like socialism, if you look back at the origins of things like communism, you begin to understand things that maybe you wouldn't understand and that lots of people don't recognize because they don't go back to those origins. They don't do that. Because they don't do that, they don't know that that's there. That's the case. That's how that works. But back to the point of the Big Bang, right? The question that you would ask yourself if you are a reasonable human being is, where did that come from? And every time you have something that it came from, you have to ask yourself where that something came from. It doesn't matter if it was matter or energy or what it was, that something either came from somewhere, or you're making the argument that I make as a Christian that it was always there, that it's eternal, that it's always been there, and that it always will be there. Now, to be fair, the outcome of the Big Bang could potentially be different from time to time. It certainly would result in different stars and in different planets and so forth being created. But the point I'm making in all of this is, until you can tell me where the matter or energy that started the cycle came from, you cannot talk about origins. And that same thing applies whether you're talking about that or the starts of holidays and so forth. And it's one of the reasons that in my historical obfuscation video, I talk about the idea that Santa Claus is not what Christmas is really about, and rolling eggs and dying eggs is not what Easter is about. And if you look back to their origins, you may find that there were pagan origins in part, but when they were, quote, co-opted by Christianity, which it's fair to say to some degree that they were, that Dia del Muerto might also have been so, right? It's totally fair to say that, but the point is that Christian celebrations of those things, which are the underpinnings of the holidays that we have at present, those celebrations can be seen, can be understood as beginnings in a sort of a sense. They may have been, like I say, born out of something else. I'm fine with the understanding and the recognition that that's true. And I'm going to say it again. I'm not really sold on Christmas. I'm not really sold on Easter as a celebration. I'm not really sold on All Hallows Eve as a celebration. I'm sold on the birth of Christ. I'm sold on Christ being nailed to the cross and rising from the dead. I'm sold on the fact that there are people who are saints. I'm not sold on who people say they are. And the result is I'm not really sold on those holidays. But the point is, one of the things that's important about life is to understand when you're really looking at an origin. And I just want you to know that a lot of the things that science talks about, a lot of the things that politics talks about, a lot of the things society talks about, those things are not origins. They are not origins. They may be some sort of origin of something, but they're not a final sort of an origin. All right, I need to wrap this up now. I'm getting to the end of my time. It is again the 21st of January 2021, and today is Thursday. I am glad to have you along today, whether it's on Rumble, the podcast, or YouTube. And I thank you for pushing me over 5,000 views on Rumble for all of my videos. I don't have 5,000 views on any video, and that's fine. I know that takes time. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're kind of marching steadily towards the weekend, and before too long, you'll be in that sort of a mode. Hope that things are going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Thursday, the 21st of January of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.